Welcome everyone, this is Pun of Needles and you're listening to LOTRO Players News, where we take a look at the latest news in LOTRO and here at LOTRO Players. And this week we have with us Sanswinda
Hello.
and Krister.
Hello.
Hello everyone! Are you ready for this week's bit of news?
Ready.
Oh boy, you really don't sound excited. Well, let's go. First, let's have a peek at what was in Bower Update 33.2 Beta number 3, where they were still making their last few tweaks in there. But let's begin with a couple of things relating to the burglar. On the burglar, they say that cunning attack bleeds should now reapply correctly when a current bleed is about to expire. Right, that sounds good. Red gambles will now stack with those applied by different burglars. That sounds good. And Gambler's Advantage bleeds will now stack with those applied by different burglars. I don't think anyone's going to argue with any of those. And as for anthems, they made a few more tweaks on anthems. They say all anthems except for Anthem of the Free Peoples are now categorized as lesser or greater anthems. Lesser anthems require 1 ballad buff to play. Greater anthems require 2 ballad buffs to play. Lesser and greater anthems form 3 pairs and are numbered accordingly. Lesser and greater anthems which form a pair will combine their effect into a single buff on your allies. Subsequently, as long as the buff is not expired, using either anthem in the pair will refresh the combined buff's duration.
Okay, that sounds positive to me, but Sans, you're a mini, so.
I am curious about this now. That's sounding like the best Anthem news that we've seen in this patch.
That's why I'm curious if that's I wonder if that's a change based on feedback, basically.
I think it's a compromise. It sounds like a compromise system in there where okay, we'll have these two work together so that you can at least have those buffs at the same time. That's the only thing I can figure out on that matter. I think we'll have to wait and see when they have the release so that we can actually have a better look at it.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested to see how it works, like, in practice. In theory, it sounds decent, though.
Now, I have heard that they are planning to do this release next week, barring disasters in the build or anything like that. So we'll see what happens on that matter. And I think, is there anything else in here that I noticed? The Gripped by Fear trait. Oh, actually, no. That's a PVM. So, actually, I was a miss. The Gripped by Fear trait now displays the correct number of seconds of its grace period. Okay, I guess it's good to display accurate information. And there are some miscellaneous things that we had added. The Mount of the Shadowed King now shows the correct acquisition information in the collections panel. It's always nice when that's accurate. And fix the Mithril travel to Nalantir during Chapter 13.5, The Watch on the Dead City. Not sure what was going on that matter. I'll, of course, go into all of this in more details next week, assuming next week is when they actually have the release on it. Then we can have a chance to really look into the changes in it. Now, I did go on to Boer this week and played a minstrel in there. The minstrel, though, that I had... Okay. First of all, I have to warn you, it was a level 105 minstrel, and I know that level 105 is I don't know if it's as true as it used to be, but I know that back when 105 was the cap, it was one of the, let's say, most OP from the ones from the point of view of the players because they were super powerful and doing all sorts of stuff in there. So it might not have been the best level which to do a test on. But I did go into there. I ran a couple of skirmishes. I ran first Thievery Mischief, then I ran Trouble in Tuckborough. Since Trouble in Tuckborough, you have these counterattacks where you're getting 5 or 6 mobs coming at you all at once. See how well I did on there. I didn't run into any real problems that I recall in there, and I was in Warrior Skull stance throughout there in Redline. So I didn't get
Cool.
killed
So
any.
the damage tweaks might help even out the lack of stun. That would be good.
Yeah. I think there were 1 or 2 times where things got a little dicey in there, but I was able to keep myself operating properly. Now, a couple of times it helped because the soldier helped on a couple of occasions by grabbing 1 or 2 of the mobs so that I wouldn't have to worry about them. But overall, I think I was surviving reasonably well throughout the time period. Especially when you consider that I was a little bit rusty on the minstrel when I was trying. But of course, as I said, this was at level 105. And it'll be nice when the update actually gets released if I go onto Landraville where I've got a 140 minstrel and see how that works because I'm sure that's going to be the real test. And I guess if you have time, you could try that also, Sans.
Yeah, I was just trying to decide if I have limited time again for playing, which one to go for. And I think I might start with a low level if you're going to start with a high level, just for
Just so we could
multiple
cover
data
both.
points.
Okay, yeah. So I think we got a reasonable data point for 105, but yeah, you maybe go somewhere. Well, obviously, when you say low enough level so that the skills are relevant.
Well, I mean, it's important for the new player experience for us to know how it plays even below level 5. But I have a few in the level 8 to 12 range. I've got a few in the 20s to 30s.
Right. Yeah, but I think that because your main problem was they're taking away the stun, it should be at a level at least at the level where that stun would normally have been introduced.
Which is level 7.
Introduced it. Shows you the
Yeah.
last time I played a minstrel that
No, it's currently introduced at level 7, so it's pretty... It can be a little bit dicey before level 7, and then it gets a lot better.
Okay.
So, I'm interested to see how their changes impact even really low levels.
All right.
We'll see.
All right, we'll see there. Now, on top of this, there was a Q&A session with Sev on Friday where he went over quite a number of things and he answered questions and went over some general items in there. And the first thing to note on there was, as I said before, they're expecting update 33.2 to come out next week, most likely. But he says it is not set in stone, meaning if there's a disaster in the build, they're not going to release it. They're going to postpone in that case. Next thing we have here is that they are actively working on two-factor authentication, but they don't have a release date for two-factor authentication. They said they expect to be ready to announce a release date early next year.
Interesting.
Yeah. So we'll find out what's going on in that department. But yes, they are currently actively working on two-factor authentication. Next one, though, is they actually gave us a hint on what the next major region is going to be. And now, when I say next major region, I'm not talking about the one for the expansion, since we already know where that's going. That's going down in Cardolan. But the next one after that, the one where they're getting back to the big storyline where they're at the top levels. And the hint is this, is that if you like salt water, then you'll be pleased with it.
Sounds intriguing.
Sounds
So
intriguing.
someplace that makes taffy.
Well, I wasn't thinking about saltwater taffy, but I was thinking
But
that
now
there
I
are,
am.
yes. Now, yes. Now I'm thinking of 5 theoretical locations that would, where I could think that might relate to salt water. The first of them is one that I'm probably going to eliminate right away, and that's the Grey Havens, because I think it's a few more years before the Grey Havens are coming into. Now I'm going to places where I could associate with salt water in one way or the other. And obviously, Grey Havens would have salt water, but there's no way they're entering the Grey Havens before the Scouring of the Shire. The second one is the land just south of Cardolan, because then you have a shore there. But I don't know, it doesn't sound like a place where we are going to go for our next high level area. That doesn't make sense for that to be an area to go for, because we're not familiar with what would be in the area. I don't think it has any connection with any of the storylines we've been doing or anything like that. So I'm just thinking of that because that's a location near where we were before, but unlikely to be the next update. Now, the third one is the one that, of course, everyone is latched onto, and that, of course, is Umbar.
Hey, I'm kind of thinking maybe we'll head in a direction where we could see Jax again. That would be fun.
That's why. Well, that's yes. So, and of course, Umbar is where we will
That
see it.
direction. Uh-huh.
Would be that direction. And is what I'm thinking of is maybe next fall's up could be Harad. And what's right in between
Ooh.
Harad and Gondor? Right in between there is Umbar. So I'm thinking maybe we get Umbar for early next year. That'll be the area we would go into. And then after that, maybe we go into Harad, and that could be a big expansion.
With Mumak Stable Masters.
With Mumak Stable Masters, yes, now you're thinking. Yes. Yes. So anyway, that sounds to me like the most likely. Well, at least the Umbar bit. I don't know how likely the Harad thing is yet. So that's
It would
what
be
sounds
pretty
like.
awesome if it had Mumak Stable Masters.
Yes.
Sans, you need to be able to buy a Mumak. I'm thinking of a recreational Mumak. You have like like an RV, equivalent.
That would
Have
be
like a
awesome too.
camper.
Yeah.
Maybe put the kin house on it.
That would be awesome.
All right. Now, as for the other 2 possibilities I was thinking of, is that there are 2 inland seas. And I don't think there's an official lore definition as to the salinity levels of those inland seas, whether they're actually lakes that are called seas, or whether they are normal salinity seas, or if they're like the Dead Sea and high salinity levels. They really don't talk about that in the lore, exactly how much salt is in those seas. So it's possible that they're being interpreted that with the word sea in there, they decide to interpret that these are in there. In fact, one person jokingly says, "What does this mean? The next area is Utah?"
I mean, saltwater taffy.
Yes. Whatever's the case, there is, and those would be two other areas where we've been speculating they're going. Strangely enough, so because I've been saying 3 possibilities, and one of them was Rune. You have the Sea of Rune. You've got Nirn, the Sea of Nirn, And you've got Umbar, which of course is right off the. Yeah, I'm not sure whether that's off the bay or off the ocean, but either way, it's obviously next to salt water and more associated with salt water than the other two areas by far. So I think the most serious likelihood is going to be Bar. But uh, when they give hints like that, he could be playing. He could be tricksy, and he actually means one of the other two, and that they're going to implement those as in the inlands that are salty.
Yeah, did I say near saltwater? I meant near sugar Earth.
Near sugar. All right, and now they're also talking about little talk. There was some talk about delvings during the discussion. He was saying the most likely way that they're going to be doing delvings is that you're going to have a gem, and you take this gem and you put it into a some sort of slot that's at the beginning of the instance, and you use that in order to raise the difficulty, and that's how you're going to select your delving in there. I'm not quite sure I understood 100% sure what he was saying, what they're really going to be doing on theirs. I have a
That
feeling that,
almost sounds like the ones in Moria, where you like pay with a little gem thing,
well,
depending
no,
on
I don't think it's,
difficulty.
no, I don't think it's, no, are you talking about the ones in Moria? You're talking about the legendary item
Uh,
quests, or,
I think so. The ones where
yeah,
you can, what is that? The Great Delving?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he meant like that. I think that in this case the stone you put it into is going to be inside the instance itself. I got the impression.
Interesting.
Yeah, we'll have to see what they're doing, and I'm thinking that if they don't fall behind in their schedule, that they're planning probably to go on Bull. I figure September 27th is my guess right now. So we've got then 10 days before it gets full. Well, that depends on whether or not delvings are in the first build. Because the first build might just be Cardaland and getting a tour of the landscape or something like that. So that's always a possibility. And I'm only guessing that's when it goes up on Bulwer because that's when they estimated that they will be ready to start pre-orders. And traditionally, pre-orders go up around the same time Bulwer starts. Or actually, no, I think they said that's when they're playing on. Or did they say that's when they're playing on Bulwer, and I assumed that that's when pre-orders. I'm not sure now. Next, after that, they are working on a new launcher because they say the old launcher is getting a little bit old. Now, the launcher they're using is pretty much the same one that they're using in DDO, and yeah, or at least it looks pretty much the same as the DDO launcher. And so, yes, the DDO's been around for see, about 17 years, I believe. And on top of that, some people say, though, Severlin, let's just say, said, no, it's not exactly the same launcher. But some people say it looks very much like the same launcher that they use in Asherton's Call. But Severlin says it's not exactly the same launcher.
The launcher was unearthed by archaeologists 3 months after discovering Tutankhamun's tomb.
So yeah, they're thinking that the launcher could use a little bit of an update on it. So they are working on a new launcher now. And the other thing that they said that they're trying to work on is the efficiency of the quest system. because I think that's one of the big contributors to lag. Because when I say the quest system here, I'm not just talking about quests, because there are a lot of things apparently that also use the quest system on top of quests. Like instances use the quest system internally, though I think they usually implement that as a quest because they are utilizing the quest system. You also have deeds. Deeds also use the quest system. Now, I don't think they use the top layer of the quest system. It bifurcates on the top level that we see, but in the innards, it's the same system. And let's just say it was not designed for the number of quests and deeds that we currently have. And they think that that's one of the high contributors to the lag that we've got is because let's say you're running on a deed to use a skill 200 times. That means every time you use a skill, we are hitting the quest system. Boom. Oh, is this one of the skills that we have a deed on? Oh, do we have a deed on this? So it's constantly checking on that for everything that you do. So they want to see if there's a more efficient way in which they could do things. And they're also saying that they're thinking about having a being able to adjust your face a bit. I'm still not exactly sure what he was
What are
talking
you
about.
trying to say about my face, Pine Leaf?
I don't know. Have I've not had a close enough look in order to tell.
So a face adjustment.
Yes, yes. So I'm not too sure exactly what's being planned there. That was just a little bit of a hint in there. And someone, of course, asked concerning starter areas, what are they planning to do relating to the old starter area when the update comes out, when update 34 comes out? And Sev said that they are going to allow the user, when you start a new character, to select which of the two starter zones to use. On whether you want to go to the classic starter zone or to the new one. They may even consider allowing you to select one, the starter zone you want, instead of being put one specific one for your race in there, because they know that several people would like to start questing with their friends immediately rather than having to wait until they all get out of the starter zone instance. Now that may be tricky from the point of way that's scripted, because I think right now it's scripted so that don't they assume you're one race or the other? I would have to go. I don't. Yeah, it'll be smoothly fitting them together, because if you do the dwarf tutorial and then wind up in the Hobbit man starter area, then that sounds like a little bit of a disconnect. Or they're going to have to. I'm sure they have lots of problems that they need to solve before they get around to doing that. Is what I'm seeing over there. Is if they want you to be able to select which one you have. I think that's a long-term goal, because as I can see, there seem to be some challenges to allowing you to select a random starter area. And anyway, those are the most important points that I caught during it. Does anyone have any questions, just in case I see if the other things I have on here is appropriate? I don't know if any of you listened to this particular item, to the Q&A session.
Yeah, no, I did not, and so I just with a lot of it, I'm just basically waiting to kind of see what it's all about once it's released. So.
All right, there we go. I am sure that we'll find out soon enough what all of this meant. So let's then head on from our Q&A session into our store sales. And Krister, what's on sale this week?
Well, this week you can start a new journey. You can get 25% off character slots, veteran status, stat packages, XP boosts, and that is now through September 22nd. And the weekly coupon is for a free simple rally horn. The coupon code is rally to your side, all one word, and that is through September 22nd as well.
Right. Sound the horn and bring your allies with you. Or at least one ally.
Yeah, if you're a captain, it's a nice, you can summon 2 allies in quick succession and then show them how much better that rally horn is than your actual summons as captains.
Why? Is there a long cooldown on your summons?
Well, yeah, the captain has a cooldown, it's a cooldown when they're actually executing the skill, where the rally horn is an instant summons. So. But we get back with our res. Our in-combat res is the best, period. So.
Oh, even better than rally?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Way
two
better.
people. Yeah, 2 people at full morale plus fellowship white buff.
That is very inspirational.
We're kind of a big deal.
Yes. All right, let's into our week in gaming. Krister, what were you up to?
Well, as I've been talking about for a long time now, we have been bashing our heads against Hidden Horror T2. And last night, everything came together. So what was really cool about it was before raid time, which is extremely rare for us, we had the full raid ready to go, and it was all filled with kin and kin allies. So we didn't have to pug anybody. Nothing against our pugs, however. We were talking about the fact that we pugged some superb people during our struggles. But last night, it was just nice to have everybody being a known factor. And so the polls went great. And Boss 1, we had our best time ever on Boss 1, despite losing a person getting knocked off the altar or the platform. We had a couple polls go awry, but nothing went too crazy. Boss 2 finally phased into the chandelier phase and then got him. And that was a huge, awesome, positive moment. So we were very happy about that.
Oh, does Handel's Hallelujah course start sounding as soon as you do that?
The what?
The Hallelujah course.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we broke out and danced. That was. But we got to Boss 3, and Boss 3 we did a couple tries, but we know it's with that one. It's just basically about getting your positioning down and understanding when the phases hit. And so we tried a couple times, but we didn't get it. And on Monday, we might even try to, because everybody's going to have locks. People were talking about maybe giving it another shot to see if we could finish it before we reset.
Oh, hold. Does that mean that if you fought the boss, that means you already went through the mind control section?
Yeah, yep.
Okay, so you got through the mind controls. It was just the final boss fight then.
Yeah, thank goodness, too. Yeah, once you get to the Boss 3, you don't have to redo that whole thing.
Okay.
Which would have been awful. But yeah, so we're right at the final boss. So that's I think everybody's very motivated now to see if we can finish it. So it was just really cool. It was a big victory, a big win, and everybody was really happy last night. And other than LOTRO, just ESO, my Exploding Orc, has been working the vents in High Isle, having a lot of fun tanking the bosses there, and dying quite a bit too. But it's been quite fun. And then I downloaded Teardown again because it's just a crazily good physics engine. It's just something to see. It's just the showcase of this, the future of how physics are going to work in games. And so it's just fun to blow stuff up in that. So I just was blowing stuff up in Teardown. And then I've been in my creative tsunami, creating a bunch of art. And I'm not saying anything's good, but it's just been a lot of fun and just had a good week. So,
okay,
Sam,
go
ahead.
Let me get this straight. You're playing with an exploding orc and you're blowing things up.
Oh, explosions are a big part of my life.
Okay.
I have an explosive personality.
Got it.
And Sans, what were you up to?
Well, this was a pretty busy week. So, I made it all the way to year 2 in Stardew Valley, and that was pretty much all I did that was gaming related. Right? But yeah, it was kind of fun and relaxing. How was your week, Pineleaf?
All right, I'll go into there. My honor warden was questing on in Gundabad, and I ran some further adventures, let's say. So the further adventures of Bilbo and the further adventures of the twins. And that means now that I have completed every single one of the missions. So all the Gundabad missions, all the Elder Slade missions, all the
Congrats.
one yeah, all the ones that were those 10 ones from Wildwood and the ones from the Upland, from the dwarf area, from the Blood of Mazog area. So we had all of those now are all done, plus the further adventures ones. So I think that was nice, being able to get all of those done, and I'm getting closer and closer to 140 on this character.
Now, what'd you get, though, finally? What was your reward? Was it like a coupon?
It was XP points.
Well, there we go. There we go.
And I'm actually making pretty good progress on the rewards track, which is so I'm getting further along, which is been very very helpful because when I got the 140, of course, and when I got the 130 and reforged my LI, it's not okay. Now how do I get this LI to I'll fix up all those things I've been getting on the reward track are slowly helping my LI get into shape. So that's going to be useful in that. So maybe when I hit 140, I'll be ready. Oh, that's right, because I just unlocked one of the instances. So I think it's time for me to play some instances next week on that. And Thirstruck. We'll see how that goes. Also, my guardian, I headed into Combs, so now I was questing in there and dealing with the Black Wolves. Now, I decided when I created this character that I am role playing as if I were a constable from Combe, and so that's why I was in Archit in the first place, because I was investigating something that was going on between Archit and Combe. I got myself captured, of course, got involved in all that Archit stuff. Now I'm getting back to Combe to report back in, and of course I'm finding that they're having troubles with Blackwell, so I have more of a job to do onto it. So that's why I decided to role play as during this particular run through with the Guardian. And in Friday Night Fights, I was reminded of why I don't like the Dome of Stars. I wasn't exactly thrilled when someone decided, hey, should we do Dome of Stars? I said, all right, fine, we'll do Dome of Stars. And I think that by the time we were done, we were all hating it. Well, no, we weren't able to finish it. It turned into a real disaster because at some point we had a room full of ghosts that made it physically impossible for us to do anything. So so that was a disaster. Then we decided to finish off the night with a skirmish because it is something that we could do. So let's head to our news beyond Lotro. First off, Darren Lore Master has given us his latest little tribute to Tolkien, where he gave us Luthien in the Halls of Mondos, and this is to the tune of Everything But the Girl's Missing. Oh, everything but this girl's missing. Not familiar with that song? And anyway, this is where Luthien is giving her plea to Mondos, and which eventually leads to her being brought back as a mortal into the land and being reunited with Beren. So this is the song that she sees that even brings pity to Mondos. So that is Luthien in the Halls of Mondos. And we also have a report from Drac, who's talking about the ratings for in-demand new shows and this was rated number 3 in most in-demand breakout series from the United States. That was for September 3rd through 9th. And in this, number 1 was House of the Dragon. I know that's no shock to anyone. Number 2 was She-Hulk, and number 3 was The Rings of Power. And most of these others, I think I heard of a couple of the others in there, but I didn't see any. Actually, the only one I saw was The Rings of Power for this particular list. So that tells us about where it's at. I guess it would probably be better. You get a better idea on how it's doing probably in a week or two where we see where it sits in the ratings, because usually the first week it's harder to tell how it's doing because you have people tuning in trying to decide whether or not they want to see it further. So that is the report so far. We currently have 16 supporters on Patreon, and if you'd like to join this illustrious rate of players and help support LOTRO players, you can go to the donations page for support the Players Alliance on Patreon. Your money will be used for podcast hosting, website hosting, and to pay for our live shows. We have no emails this week, but if you like since when, you can send it to podcast@lotrplayers.com. You can also follow us on Twitter. Players Alliance at Players Ally, Loach Players at Loach Players, Arendis at Arendis, Pineleaf at Pineleaf Needle, Senswin at Senswin, Terry Edwin at Terry Edwin, Guarendis at Guarendis, Calibathian at Calibathian, and Krister at Entropy Engine 1. The Players Alliance has 2 shows. On Saturdays at 8:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, we have Loach Players News, and on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, we have DDO Players News. You can join our shows at loachplayers.com/live. And that's all for tonight, and this is Polyp Needles reminding you to skirmish responsibly.